Friends and family, that is. OK, here on BBLB, we've noticed that the housemates become more and more childlike, more than we even thought they would be. Here to explain why is a guest who's clever, insightful, and quite literally a honey. It's Honey Lancaster-James, everybody. Hi, Honey.
That's quite an introduction.
Well, we saw you first night, so you've had a long while to study them now. What do you make of them?
I think they're brilliant. I think they're the best bunch ever. I mean, I was particularly pleased with the Saskia and Maxwell things. I don't know whether you remember on the first night when they first walked in, made a little prediction there that they two would hit it off. So I was pleased with it. Yeah, look back at the tapes. Absolutely.
I will.
So we like it when we can, you know. That's what I do.
So, but in terms of from your professional point of view, these lot have been fantastic.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I love the task team this year as well. I think that's been pure genius. And the way that they've sort of actually pandered to their childlike qualities, getting them to dress up in chicken suits and dog costumes. Fantastic.
Brilliant. OK, Derek's the oldest member of the house, but is he the father figure?
Well, I think, you know, in any group settings, people are going to naturally gravitate towards some sort of role. And I think Derek has tried to take on a paternal role. I remember when Roberto was still in the house, they were very much like the parents of the house with all the children around them. So I think he definitely has been sort of being very paternal. We've seen that with Science particularly, but quite sort of ambivalent relationship between them. On the one hand, you know, trying to guide him and give him little pointers, and on the other hand, sort of chastising him and putting him down a bit.
I mean, to be fair to Derek, it hasn't been easy to be, if he is the father figure, to be a father figure to this group of housemates.
Yeah, well, I mean, this year they're particularly, you know, the average age is a lot younger, and some of the, you know, behaviours have been very flamboyant and, you know, dare I say it, a little bit immature from some of them. So I think Derek has been quite frustrated by that.
OK, you think the housemates act like children? Have a look at this.
I miss my mommy.
Mummy, I feel victimised. Mummy. What is the matter?
What's the matter with you?
Now you're
mocking you.
Mocking?
Yes.
Oh, right.
I've been asking for J8 for 3 weeks and you won't give me some.
There's enough there for everybody.
There's 9 people. That is how much we've got.
You started swinging up doors, spitting the dummy as usual.
If we live with kids, we've got to treat them like kids. It's the twisted playground. This is a twisted playground.
Love the random shot of the bird at the end there.
Fantastic. Quite sinister, isn't it?
3 main areas of behaviour you want to talk about: talking like children, throwing strops, and arguments about food. Firstly, what can you tell us about the babyish behaviour, the talking like children?
It's not just talking like children, but it's also the very kind of baby-like gestures. We've seen a lot of that from Makosi, with the sort of big wide eyes that she looks up at people with, and Kamal as well. Lots of self-comforting gestures of sort of sucking his thumb at night, and we saw there with him sort of chewing on his fist. You know, very childlike quality, and they serve quite an important purpose as well.
What do they do?
Well, for Makosi, it's a way of disarming her, you know, her opposition. Because obviously, if I look at you with nice big, you know, big
girls
red eyes,
are great like that.
You know, you can't do
don't look at me like that. It freaks me out when girls do that. They head bow, eyes go up, and you go, "What do you want?"
It's very disabling, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very disabling.
What do you want me to do, honey?
Well, let's talk about that later.
OK. Next question.
OK.
I'm glad I got out of that little daze there. Now, when the housemates go bad, some of the arguments have been like toddler tantrums, haven't they?
Very much so. I mean, this year, you know, some of the housemates have been very low in what we psychologists call impulse control. So very much they're letting it all hang out. You know, they're quite comfortable with one another now, and they're not trying to be polite. They're just, you know, really feeling their frustrations and venting it straight away. So we saw that with Craig when he was sort of...
Is that a good thing in terms of... Because everyone, you know...
Well, on the one hand...
cathartic.
Yeah, on the one hand, it's a good thing because we're seeing them at their sort of genuine emotions, if you like. On the other hand, it can be quite destructive as well. So when Craig is kind of stomping around, throwing bikes, and I remember people throwing bins at each other, obviously, you know, there's a fine line between letting your frustrations out and actually it becoming quite aggressive and quite intimidating
from
for
Big
the
Brother's
others.
point of view, how can you keep a check on that? I mean, what can you do?
Well, I think they are doing the right thing. They're giving them lots of tasks at which they can play out these roles, particularly with the dog and the master type roles. You know, they are allowing them to sort of play out their frustrations, actually. I don't know whether that's sort of something they're doing on purpose or whether that's just a fortunate event.
It's lucky if it is.
It is.
OK, and lastly, most of the arguments in the house have been generated about food. I'm fascinated with the food in the house. This is the first year people don't sit around and eat together. And they argue because of it. What is it about the food?
Well, first of all, it's a limited resource, and in any situation where there are limited resources, there's going to be conflict. You see this in, you know, in the workplace. You see this with sort of arguments over office stationery. Now, in the Big Brother house, food is a major issue for them. It's something that they can control because they can be creative with it. They can choose what they do with it, and and they've got some sort of say over what they can have from the list. But also it's very important that they play out who they trust with the use of food. So for example, they might sort of take some food and stash it and let 1 or 2 friends in on the plan and keep others out. So it's a way of being divisive. But also the hoarding behaviour is quite interesting, because if you look at research that shows about prisoners, they tend to hoard things, often quite irrelevant things, as a way of just exerting some control over their environment. So it could just be that.
Brilliant. Honey, thank you very much, everybody. Wonderful.